How can something as simple as salt shake an entire empire to its core? Well, today we're diving into the incredible story of Gandhi's Salt March. It's a story about how a peaceful protest centered on this everyday seasoning became a huge turning point in India's fight for freedom.
It sounds impossible, right? It's a true David versus Goliath story. But in this battle, the weapon of choice wasn't a sword or a slingshot. It was a principle, an idea. So, to really get what happened, we have to start with the man himself, Mahatma Gandhi. Now, he was born in India under British rule, and he actually trained as a lawyer in England. But it was his work in South Africa that really changed everything.
See, in South Africa, Gandhi came face to face with intense racial discrimination. But instead of turning to anger and violence, those experiences shaped his core belief in a completely different kind of power, peaceful resistance. He developed a method he called satyagraha.
Okay, so what exactly is satyagraha? The word itself means truth force. Think of it like this. Instead of fighting an unjust law with fists, you peacefully and very publicly break it. Your bravery, your willingness to accept the punishment without fighting back, that's what exposes how unfair the law really is. It's a way to win a fight by appealing to your opponent's conscience, not by trying to overpower them. So, armed with this powerful idea, Gandhi returns to India. And he's looking for an issue, something that could unite the entire nation against British rule. And he found it in the most ordinary thing you can imagine, salt. And this, right here, is the heart of the conflict.
You're probably thinking, wait, salt? Why would a national revolution be focused on salt? Well, in India at that time, salt was so much more than just a seasoning.
In a hot climate like India's, salt is absolutely essential for survival. It helps you stay hydrated. It was also the main way to preserve food, long before refrigerators came along. It was a basic necessity for every single person, rich or poor. And the best part? It came from India's very own coastlines.
But here's the problem. The British government created a monopoly, meaning they had complete control over it. They passed laws called the Salt Acts, which made it illegal for any Indian to collect or sell their own natural salt. Instead, everyone was forced to buy it from the government, which of course added a heavy tax. This tax hit the poorest people the hardest and became this perfect, infuriating symbol of unfair foreign rule.
Gandhi saw this incredible injustice, and he came up with a brilliant plan. He decided he was going to challenge the Salt Acts, not with a riot or with violence, but with a walk. A very, very long walk, designed to grab the attention of the entire world. So, the journey kicks off on March 12, 1930. For 24 straight days, Gandhi and his followers walked across western India. Their final destination was a small coastal village called Dandi, and they arrived there on April 5th.
And get this, the total distance was 240 miles. To put that in perspective, that's like walking from New York City almost all the way to Washington, D.C. It was an absolutely incredible undertaking for anyone, let alone for the 60-year-old Gandhi.
He started out with just 78 of his most dedicated followers. But as he walked, day after day, about 10 to 15 miles a day, stopping in villages to speak to the people, something amazing started to happen. People were inspired. That small group of 78 swelled into a massive crowd of thousands, and journalists from all over the world started covering this unbelievable trek. After 24 long days of walking, they finally reached the sea, and the march reached its climax. The entire world was now watching, just waiting to see what Gandhi was going to do. On the morning of April 6th, the air was just electric with tension. Thousands of supporters, journalists, they all gathered on the beach at Dandi. Gandhi calmly walked down to the water's edge, right where the natural salt from the sea had crusted onto the shoreline. He then bent down, picked up a small lump of natural, illegal salt, and held it high for everyone to see. As he held it up, he declared, "With this, I am shaking the foundations of the British Empire." It was such a simple act, but it was basically a declaration of independence that echoed across the entire globe. That one single act of defiance set off a massive nationwide movement. Millions of Indians started making their own salt, openly breaking the law. But this peaceful protest was about to meet a very, very forceful response. The contrast was just stark. On one side, you had the Indian people engaging in civil disobedience. They were making salt, boycotting British goods, and holding peaceful marches. And on the other side, the British government responded with brute force, mass arrests of tens of thousands of people, including Gandhi himself, and violent beatings of unarmed protesters. But through it all, the people remained committed to nonviolence.
This powerful image of peaceful protesters facing down a violent regime was broadcast all over the world. It created this huge wave of international sympathy for India's cause and put immense pressure on the British government to do something.
And you know what? All that worldwide pressure worked. The British were finally forced to negotiate, which led to something called the Gandhi-Irwin Pact in 1931. As part of the deal, political prisoners were released, and people living on the coast were finally allowed to collect their own salt. Now, it wasn't full independence just yet, but it was a massive victory. It proved that nonviolent protest could force real political change.
And the legacy of the Salt March goes so far beyond India. It became the textbook example of successful civil disobedience. It directly inspired leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., who used Gandhi's exact principles of nonviolence to lead the American civil rights movement decades later.
Which really leaves us with this final thought. Gandhi showed the world that a seemingly small symbolic act, like picking up a handful of salt, can ignite a movement that literally changes history. It just makes you wonder, what seemingly small act of courage today could create a tidal wave of change tomorrow?